It is my great pleasure, and I'm very honored, to be here today as chief guest for a program that has had a great impact in shaping our personal lives, the environment we live and work in, and of course, the nation, economically, socially, and politically. As a fellow of the inaugural Leadership Fiji, I'm proud of what it has achieved for me, my fellow cohorts, and esteemed colleagues who are part of this momentous journey. This is where we had the disagreement, but I'm still thinking about 22 years ago. I was advised by the CEO of Telecom Fiji Limited, the then CEO of Telecom Fiji Limited, Mr. Winston Thompson, that had been chosen for the first Leadership Fiji program, along with two other colleagues, namely Ivan Fong and Autiko Lolo. We were like all in middle management positions at the time, and in hindsight, I was thinking, right for the picking to be Sufi's guinea pigs in terms of building, well, broad-minded and educated leaders, and open to having a more inclusive approach and understanding of Fiji as a nation and how it worked, which really, as I believe, are the fundamentals behind setting up Leadership Fiji. Contextually, it was a time when Fiji had just come out of the political upheaval of 2000. Globally, it was the start of a new millennium, which signaled the advent of risk management and declining levels of public trust. Thus, the critical need to start building leaders for the future, with the ability to take the nation forward in the 21st century. We were a group of 21. Sufi keeps reminding me, she put us through the mill when we were part of the program. The inaugural Leadership Fiji participants, and needless to say, we have navigated our way from the leadership program in 2002, I'm trying to get a bit younger here, to where we are today. And as a testament to the successful achievement of the program's initial intent of creating leaders for the 21st century, I know William had, the chairman, had acknowledged some of the members of our cohorts who are now in critical positions. I would like to take this time to acknowledge the Fellows of LF 2002 who now hold critical positions in our nation, communities, public and private sector to date. Some of the names you would have heard William mention: Filimon Vosarongo, the Honourable Minister for Lands and Mineral Resources, Esetananda Kuitavuki, who's sitting right there, the Permanent Secretary for Ministry of Women, Children and Social Protection, Melina Dhuva, who is the Permanent Secretary for the Ministry of Youth and Sport, Timothy Tavanavanua, who is the Rokotu Imbao, Ivan Fong, Chief Executive of Amalgamated Telecom Holdings, Rajesh Patel, who is also sitting here with us, Director and co-founder of Pacific Island Beverages Pte. Limited. He moved out of the family business and started his own. Sophie Foster, who is now the digital editor at News Corp Australia. Virisilam Buandromo, as the chair had mentioned, co-lead at Urgent Action Fund for Women's Human Rights, Asia and Pacific. Arshad Daud, Managing Director at Midling Marketing Limited. Ritesh Singh, Chief Executive Officer of Housing Authority. And Vinita Nand, District Governor for Rotary District 9920 Rotary International. It's more than 50% of us who were in that cohort who are now, in leadership positions. This in itself is a reflection of the success of Leadership Fiji's vision of developing and enhancing the quality of leaders in Fiji. For me, as William had mentioned, I spent most of my leadership journey at TFL. The learnings from the Leadership Fiji program put me in a good stead to strategically deal with the changing technologies in the marketing and sales space, and more importantly, the changes that the industry was going through at the time, with the full market deregulation of Fiji's telecommunications market in July 2009. 2 years after Leadership Fiji program, I found myself part of the change management team that was going to drive the organizational restructure of TFL, so it was operationally sustainable in a competitive and deregulated environment. This is when Digicel was going to come into the market. This was an important point in my career. The experience from being part of this team and the learnings from Leadership Fiji, from sessions on economic environment and how various sectors evolved, provided me with a strategic perspective on how organizations need to continuously transition, or they could become the metaphorical boiled frog. And this is the business I'm in now at the moment. Following the successful implementation of the change management program, well, TFL is still here today, so it did survive. I found myself climbing the management ladder from departmental manager to group manager, and finally group general manager, national sales, product development and marketing communications in 2011. At this time, for an organization like TFL, there were only 3 females in executive management, and that included the subsidiaries of TFL, Connect, Exceed, Transtel. Incidentally, there were no females on the TFL board of directors. This leads me to some challenges faced by women in leadership. It is true that women had to diligently work twice as hard as men to get recognized for our competencies and skills. But in doing so, women are often perceived as too aggressive or as a force of nature. It becomes harder as we move up the ladder, believe me. And the term breaking the glass ceiling is a real achievement for women when we do. How do we deal with these challenges? By being confident in our own capabilities to successfully deliver on whatever comes our way. When I was picked for Leadership Fiji, I felt honored that out of the 1,400 staff at TFL, I was one of the 3 picked to attend this program. The program further enhanced my confidence in my value and in knowing that what I could bring to the table. It reinforced that being a leader, I needed to have principles and integrity, be decisive and accountable, ensure governance, empower people, and be resilient. Let's just give a round of applause for all the women who have gone through or will go through this program. At the beginning of the program, this is alluding to something William had said earlier, I personally only knew about 4 of the other participants. At the end of the program, we became a connected group of 21 participants who shared ideas, debated upon a variety of issues, and gleaned as much as we could from the interactions with leaders from various fields. This was the beginning of a networking group that I would not have had access to otherwise. 22 years later, this networking group has evolved, or should I say, moved up in hierarchy to where we all are today. And yes, we still have our group email, where we still stay in touch, get together for lunch, and then in support of each other. Oops. I spent 4 years in the Solomon Islands after TFL to be with my husband, who was working there at the time, and returned to Fiji in 2016 to join Maxumise, an Australian human capital management consultancy company, which had been in Fiji for over 20 years. Maxumise's core business was to assist organizations improve their performance with a focus on human capital management. I realized this was my forte and worked towards acquiring Maxumise, the consultancy company, and Harmonize, a proprietary human capital management software tool developed around the Maxumise intellectual property. To acquire Maxumise, I had to first convince my husband. And it was my value, I think, which I sold to my husband, my value to the company, that convinced him to acquire the business. So we put together a team of local experts in commercial law, financial advisory, and software programming to carry out the due diligence on the companies and also be part of the negotiations. Incidentally, our commercial law expert, and who is a board director, was Atusi Watimbao, also an alumnus of Leadership Fiji. After around a year of negotiations, we successfully took ownership of Maxumise and Harmonize in Jan 2023. In my current role as managing director, I'm a leader that is focused on governance, successfully delivering on strategic priority outcomes, mentoring and empowering staff, and ensuring staff well-being. My recent appointment as a member of the Independent Committee for the Remuneration and Allowances for Constitutional Officers is an opportunity for me to voluntarily provide expert advice at a national level with the nation's best interests at heart. As a leader, I try to equip and prepare others for leadership and thus multiply leadership across the nation. I do this, as I alluded to earlier, through mentoring exposure, driving organizational culture and values, and practicing good governance, not only with my own staff, but also in partnership with Maxumise clients. Let me conclude by sharing with you 3 leadership traits that many of us would have learned growing up as children into adults, which I still find valuable in my experience to date, and certainly helps in inspiring leadership in the multitude of potential future leaders we deal with on a day-to-day basis at work or in any other spheres of our lives. First is trust. Do our prodigies trust us? Do they accept that we will, without doubt, stand up for them when they face seemingly insurmountable challenges? Only that kind of trust makes people feel empowered, gives them courage to innovate, take risks, and to push themselves beyond their comfort zones to find success. Second is empathy. Are we as leaders in our organizations aware of the emotions of our subordinates, or are we too busy fretting about deadlines, the bottom lines, etc.? Do you treat your team members as human beings, and not just workers? Emotional intelligence is widely recognized as a leadership quality, but being transparent about your emotions isn't. Rather, we must laugh and cry with highs and lows of our colleagues and those who work under us. And third is mentorship. No matter how talented we may be, we crave the guiding hand, the mentor who will teach us the rules of the game. A renowned and widely respected NBA basketball coach once said that there was no great player who didn't want to be coached. The same holds true of work. Would we be where we are today if our first manager didn't nudge us in the right direction? When people are perplexed about what the future holds for their organizations and themselves, mentorship is critical. With those few words, heartfelt congratulations to Leadership Fiji 2022 cohort who will be receiving their certificates and pins today. Furthermore, I'm convinced that each of you participants of the Leadership Fiji 2024 program will join your fellows in becoming our leaders of tomorrow. Without much further ado, I hereby launch the Leadership Fiji program for 2024. Thank you.